Welcome, everyone, back to the Deep Dive. I'm one of your hosts, Spencer Bennett. My other host is Brant Fricker.
Hey, my man, it's good to see your face. How you doing?
It's good to see your face. It's been a while since we've been on.
It's been a while. It has. People have missed it. They've commented about it. I'm excited to be with you, Spencer, and all the places we're being seen right now live around the country, but also for faithfulstream.com. You're going to see these programs, more of these on there as well. But Spencer, you are no stranger to the broadcasting world, the radio talk world, and the radio world. But I tell you what, everything we talked about, it did happen. It is happening. And folks, you know what? You can get a better idea of what's going to happen if you keep your eyes open and you hang out with people who tell you the truth like we do right here on Deep Dive.
You bet. And we're going to be jumping into the headlines, talking about the current events that are happening as of today. This is April 8th. And just recently, Brant, another story came out. And I just love the headlines because they lie again, saying a second death attributed to measles in West Texas.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The problem is the first death wasn't attributed to measles, and the second one isn't either.
Right.
This is a narrative that I think that they're pushing to go after an agenda, a narrative to go after RFK Jr., who just made a trip, by the way, this week, went and saw the family of this young child that passed away.
Right.
To just offer his condolences. It wasn't a photo op. It's not a Kamala Harris photo op. It's not an AOC photo op. He didn't tell anybody he was going to be there.
Right.
He just wanted to make a trip because we've got a very good mutual friend, Dr. Richard Bartlett, who is well-versed, a great doctor, by the way, that we have on the show every Thursday on my radio show. Mm-hmm. And we've been able to talk about putting aside these misinformation, disinformation narratives that the media is putting out. The first child did not die of measles.
Right.
It's really tough. And, it is tough to kill a kid. I mean, we're living proof of that, Brant. If we could have, you and I would be pushing up daisies, but it's not easy because of all the dumb stuff we did when we were kids. But let me tell you, our heart goes out to these families. The Mennonite families have been vilified by the media in this story. And it makes me extremely angry because while they want to focus on measles cases in the United States,
right,
they ignore the measles cases in Europe. So we're going to start there before we get into what actually happened to these young people that they're attributing to their deaths to measles. First of all, I say pray for the families that have been affected. But did you know that we have about 600 measles cases in West Texas, Brant, or in the U.S.? We could just say in the U.S., right?
Really? Okay.
Okay. So you would think that we were the only nation on the planet that was suffering with a measles outbreak, correct?
Right.
If you listen to just the mainstream media, you would think that we're only having a measles outbreak. You know what's interesting? Europe, the whole EU, the European Union, that area has about 600 million people. So it's roughly twice the size of the United States. The United States supposedly has around 600 measles cases. Guess how many measles cases they have there?
How many?
126,000.
Wow.
Measles cases that aren't being reported by the mainstream media. Why? Because they're pushing a narrative here. And that's the issue that I have with a lot of this. Even local media, I'm always just really going after the local media because all they're doing is just repeating a stupid lying narrative that measles caused the death of these two children. The first child wasn't given the proper antibiotics in the hospital. When you are dealing with a pneumonia, you must give a particular type of antibiotics, which they gave the wrong kind of antibiotics. Wow. This is listed. This is news. That they gave the wrong child the wrong antibiotics. And instead of immediately stopping that and then starting the right antibiotics and breathing treatments, they let this child die. They waited 10 hours before administering any of the care to this child, and this child passed away. And then it was within 30 minutes, all over the news, all over the nation, that we had our first measles death in West Texas. Similarly, now they're reporting a second measles death. It's a lie. The child did have measles and recovered. Evidently, there were some tonsil problems, tonsillectomy. There was some toxicity. There was a mononucleosis that this child had been dealing with for months. And you and I both know that can be deadly if not taken care of. And what happened was it wasn't the measles. Actually, the child had recovered from the measles. It was from these other comorbidities and blood toxosis, I believe, if that's the correct way to pronounce that.
Right.
But see, this is the narrative. This is the narrative they want to push. Did you ever have chicken pox, Brant?
Yep, sure did.
Yep, me too. Did we go to the hospital for chicken pox?
I didn't.
I didn't either. No, and the same thing with measles. You know that Brady Bunch episode. You and I are both old enough to remember the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Brady Bunch episode where they had the measles, which, by the way, for some reason, Hulu took that down. You can't find that particular episode on Hulu.
Interesting.
It's weird because you know what they said? Oh, we're going to just do bed. We're going to go see the doctor, make sure everything's cool. And then we're going to do a week of bed rest and you'll be fine. That's how they took care of the measles. But for some reason, they won't run that episode. That's weird. Suspicious. It's almost like they don't want you to know that, you could recover from this. That if you just eat your fruits and vegetables after you get sick and you get enough vitamin A, you'll recover pretty darn quick.
Yeah. Well,
this is what I would call a crime. It is a crime of mis and disinformation to mislead the public into thinking this is a deadly disease. Now, I'm not saying that people don't die of measles. It's usually measles complications, whether that's pneumonia because it is a respiratory infection. And all the information that I'm sharing with you, you can pull up in medical journals. I got my information from a doctor who treats this stuff. It's a respiratory infection.
Right.
And most people recover, no problem. But there are cases when someone could die from this, but they're very, very rare. And the media keeps playing this, Brant, like we've never had measles in this country before. Like we didn't have an outbreak last year or 5 years ago or 10 years ago or for the last 100 years. The reason people died 100 years ago was because their diet was poor.
Right.
Because they didn't have enough vitamins like vitamin A in their system. Mm-hmm. But this is the narrative. And why would they push this narrative, Brant? Why do you think?
Well, for obvious reasons. They want to try it again. In 2023, if you go to the World Health Organization, their own website, you'll find right there under the measles that 107,500 people died from the measles in 2023. You didn't hear about that, did you? You didn't hear about the 16 measles outbreaks last year. It's because it's all by design. The World Health Organization, unelected people trying to take over the world. Our communist government almost gave our sovereignty to the World Health Organization, which is under the World Economic Forum, under Klaus Schwab, the true Nazi, and his false prophet who denied the existence of Jesus. Of course, they say he's retiring. Well, you know what, folks? Doesn't anyone remember when the World Health Organization and the CDC were paying hospitals to kill you? Big payouts. $10,000 to doctors to change death certificates to COVID, $53,000 if they put you on a ventilator to kill you, around $10,000 to give you remdesivir that was outlawed in every country but America. Do you not remember that? When they turned nurses and doctors into assassins, and then when the ones who refused to take part were fired? Remember that? We told you so, and we're telling you again. They're trying to lock down the world. And of course, no one seems to connect the dots between BlackRock's forced behaviors that they themselves have admitted to, even down to affecting the everyday, mom and pop businesses, trying to dissolve the middle class. It is all one effort for a prison planet to do away with sovereignty of any nations under unelected elites who want only 500 million people on the earth. It sounded crazy back then, didn't it? Does it sound crazy now? Everything we talked about, everything has come to pass, Spencer. And yet here we are again, another attempted psyop. But do you remember when they tried it with the bird flu? They were like, bird flu. And the Americans were like, oh, heck no. We're not going to do that again. So
Mm-mm.
that the bird flu backfired, and all the puppets and minion media, they backed off of that because Americans weren't going to have that again. Now they're trying the angle with the measles, but the same people who are protesting Trump, paid fools, Obama's Antifa imported army, they can't even tell you why they're protesting because they're not protesting. They're paid thugs and they need to be deported as well. But everything we talked about has come to pass. It's all connected. It's all part of the same Luciferian socialist game that we see being played out yet again, once again, verifying that the Bible is true.
That's exactly right. And so, what are they pushing? They're pushing for the MMR vaccines. Now, here, don't have anything against vaccines.
Right.
Two things can be true at the same time, Brant. Yes, vaccines can cause nasty side effects. mRNA vaccines don't need to be in your body. That is also true because they contain things like pseudouridine. Pseudouridine isn't supposed to be used in veterinary use or on humans. That's from OSHA papers.
Right.
Why is it doing what's it doing in the jab, the COVID jab? I don't know. Maybe that turned out to be the bioweapon and it wasn't the virus.
Right.
You need to read up on why Pfizer didn't want those vaccine injuries, the possible vaccine injuries that could come from taking their vaccine. They didn't want that released for 75 years.
Right.
People had to go to court to make them release those findings. So it turns out, COVID, kind of like the flu, because the flu disappeared that year.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who don't remember, the flu disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
And then they had faulty PCR tests that registered positive when they weren't. Then you go for COVID, and eventually you get on a respirator and you're dead. Funny how that all happened. So here's the deal, folks. Make your own decisions. That is what autonomy God gave you, and you have autonomy over your own body. Before you get anything, whether you decide not to or before you decide to, informed consent. You need to know what's in those shots. Okay, I'm not saying that the MMR have mRNA shots in it. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is those also can have side effects because they use a live virus in there and you can shed for months. So technically, you could, because they say, well, there's a difference between the wild virus or the virus out in the wild and the one you get with the, doesn't matter. You can still shed that virus to someone else who hasn't had measles or hasn't been inoculated, and they can get the measles because it sheds off of you because it's a live virus. And the other thing is, we haven't talked about how did these measles cases show up in the US? Well, it could be because we let anyone and their dog into this country. Actually, we didn't let the dogs in. We let everyone into the country for the last 4 years. And that's why we saw upticks of different diseases, whether that was tuberculosis, whether that was measles, now dengue fever. And the same thing happened in Europe. They have uncontrolled immigration where their governments are letting their citizens suffer at the hands of illegals coming into their country, bringing every kind of disease. You were told to get the COVID shot, but nobody checked the shot records of the people coming into this country.
Right.
This is what
they were
the
required.
Biden administration did.
They weren't required. Look what's come out. Millions of Social Security numbers given by the Biden administration to illegals put up in five-star hotels, not required to take the shot. I mean, it's treason. Why aren't these people arrested? Why are they walking around? And then their imported paid army, what? How $300 million spent on the protests, yet not one of them can give you an intelligible answer of why they are protesting. Folks, I mean, come on. It's a big con. It's a big con game, and the reports, it is all connected. It is all part of this evil one world government, phased out psyops. Now we're in the middle of the measles psyop. You know what I mean? But look at all the corruption. Look how you've been robbed. Look at Obama, $26 million a year out of your pocket. You're fined. And yet he gives it free to illegals. Remember when during one of his speeches, that Manchurian candidate, the Kenyan, was interrupted by a congressman and said, "You lie." When he said Obamacare will not go to illegals, guess what? He did lie.
He
And
lied.
you paid for it. And then favoring non-citizens. Why are these people not arrested, Spencer?
I think we're getting to that point. I'm going to basically credit, I don't know if you follow Dan Bongino on X,
Mm-hmm.
but this system, this cabal, the satanic cabal system has been in place, and it's been put in place for decades, and it's not going to be dealt with overnight. Look how many sleeper agents, whether that's with the FBI trying to hide the Kennedy files up in the Southern District of New York, or NSA people that were giving information to the press, or you name it, or these rogue judges, Brant. We have a lot of sleeper agents in this country that are thwarting the Make America Great, America First movement. And you have to have a clean house to be able to prosecute. I think they've got their hands full. Dan Bongino posted, and he used to have a radio show. He was former Secret Service agent, now deputy director of the FBI, says, listen, and I'm paraphrasing what he said because I don't have it in front of me, but he said, listen, just because you don't see anything happening doesn't mean a lot of things aren't happening.
Right.
There are a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. And God just have to give me patience, because when I see Pam Bondi on Fox News more than I see her in her office,
right,
that bothers me. But I know that there's people that are working behind the scenes to make sure that these traitors are dealt with. And I think they will be eventually, but it's going to take a long time. We're only, almost 60 days, 2 months into this Trump presidency.
Right.
And we've gotten more done than Biden did in the last 4 years.
Right.
There's some great things that are happening, but that's why you're not seeing it as of yet. You are seeing some, but I think when the big stuff starts rolling down, you have to have the American people behind you. And when do you have the American people behind you? When they start telling you what they did with the children.
Yes.
We're still missing 325,000 kids, folks, that were brought into this country under the Biden administration's human trafficking project that was funded by your tax dollars, which Doge is uncovering. And it was given to NGOs like Catholic Charities, also Lutheran Charities, and Jewish charities, to name a few, including the Red Cross.
Oh, yeah.
They were trafficking people into our country. I think we're going to ask for our money back. I really do. And I think people are going to go to prison or worse over this. But when the people find out, you and I already know what happened to these kids, most of them. When the U.S. citizens find out what happened to these kids and this satanic cabal, their currency is children, I think even the Democrats are going to throw their hands up in rage and demand public trials and the things that would follow someone who would hurt a child in the ways that they hurt them. Now, that's really deep and dark, and we're not going to go dark right now.
But true.
I think that information, when it becomes available, is going to turn a lot of hearts and a lot of heads, and you're going to start to see things change. Now, that doesn't mean that every leftist who's keying Teslas is going to go, they were right, because they won't do that.
They're mindless.
Some of them are so programmed and so brainwashed and so spiritually blinded, Brant, that there's no coming back.
Right.
That's sad, but that's life.
Well, even the Bible talks about that, Spencer.
Yeah.
They'd be given over to a reprobate mind. They're no more than animals, soulless animals that would harm a child. Look, pay attention, folks. Who's targeting children? Who's targeting women? Pay attention. Who's burning down cities? Pay attention to that. Who's victimizing monsters and villainizing the victims. Pay attention to that. It's the same people. It's the same evil, what I call demon seed, man. Children of the serpent. These people don't have the same brain chemistry as you. There is no empathy. They're narcissists. They're psychopaths. And, it's been a long time coming. Our public schools have become indoctrination centers. China has had their Confucius centers all throughout our universities, paying millions of dollars universities. The Muslim Brotherhood, and through Obama, he is Muslim Brotherhood. He is the Kenyan. That's going to come out too. Look what he's done to America. He needs to be arrested as well. Things are coming to light, folks. And it's no longer, I was talking to somebody yesterday, Spencer, it's no longer Republican, Democrat. It's good versus evil.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good folk who were JFK Democrats. They say, hey, my party left me a long time ago. And, again, liberals don't help the people they claim to help. They don't help the black community. They want to keep them impoverished and dependent. They don't help women. They want to rename them birthing parents. They don't help children. They support their murders and protect those who exploit them, who rape and kill them. I mean, there's a reason why the Satanic Church tries to sue, the government when Texas wants to shut down abortion centers, folks. It's so dark, but you better open your eyes. Doing this, and doing this doesn't make it go away. That's why we're going on the deep dive. It's a deep dive. But have we not been right? Go YouTube what we talked about 2 years ago. We've been right because you know what? Jesus said wisdom is proved right by her children. All you need is common sense. All you need is discernment. A lot of people are running out there. They claim to have discernment. They don't have discernment. They don't have discernment within their own teams or ministries or organizations. They don't know anything, man. You got to open your eyes and the heart knows, Spencer. That's why it's important that we come together. We stand together and we are fearless in the face of evil. We seek the truth and we stand ready to do something about it, and I know it sounds controversial, but hey, man, deputized regulators would take care of this problem in a week.
Well, our government used to do that against pirates, by the way.
Yeah.
Those were letters of marque, my friend. Mm-hmm. And yes, to deal with piracy on the high seas and outlaws, letters of marque were issued to citizens to basically go take care of the pirates.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't, I'm pretty sure that we can take care of this ourselves. We've got law enforcement that are now focused on that and our military that's now focused on that. And we don't want to be too dark here. I mean, there's some great things happening in our country right now.
Yes, yeah, there is.
Remember the great reset that Klaus Schwab, the Nazi, talked about? Well, we have basically kicked that in the teeth, and we're doing a great reset on the great reset. And we are changing the financial system and the structure of things that have torn us down and ripped us off for years. There's a reason Germany doesn't have to pay for internet. There's a reason these countries in Europe don't have paid health care. It's all free for them. You know why? Because they're not paying. They're charging us. They're not paying their fair share in NATO. And so it brings us to the tariffs. Do we have time to talk about tariffs?
We sure do. There's a lot of wins out there right now. If you go to whitehouse.gov, you're going to see all the wins that have happened in such a short amount of time. But yeah, let's talk about the tariffs. All of a sudden, those who don't know what bathroom to use or can't pay the student loans or don't know what a woman is are experts on tariffs. Isn't that amazing?
They're experts. I'm an expert on a tariff. It's a tax. Shut up and sit down.
Little Davy Duck, yeah.
Let's explain what a tariff did for this country. When we had tariffs back before the turn of the century, we were one of the richest nations, if not one of the richest nation. Right. Besides all the times that Britain was stealing from their own citizens. But we didn't have an income tax, and we were able to afford many, many things. There's a reason why tariffs work. And if they didn't work, why would 160 countries tariff us, Brant?
Right.
Because that's what's happening. They've been tariffing us for decades, stealing from us, stealing the food from your children's mouths, and your taxes are paying for it while you have to pay for internet. You have to pay for your medical care, but these other countries don't. And after the Marshall Plan, after World War II, we agreed, this is probably good for a short term. We're going to help rebuild Europe. Bada boom, bada bing, and it should have stopped. It never did. And as President Trump said, there's been a whole bunch of people in the Oval Office that could have stopped it and didn't. And they've allowed it. He goes, if I was one of those countries, I'd take it for all I could get. Well, the taking's over. And places like China, the EU, Great Britain, Vietnam, you name it, Mexico, and our neighbor to the north, Canada. Come on, guys, we're supposed to be friends. We've been taking care of your defense from day one. They've been ripping us off, and that ends. And when it ends, I would predict, and I think President Trump has also said this, we're going to see the end of the income tax. We'll have an external revenue service, and we're going to go through some temporary pain while this happens. But I promise you, it's going to be worth it. Everyone wants to scream. Isn't it funny, Brant, how the Democrats scream about billionaires until the billionaires start losing money and then they're all of a sudden victimized?
Well, and some of them are billionaires, right? And definitely millionaires. They've been robbing the American people with bogus NGOs. It's been coming right back. How about Ukraine?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the trillions of dollars that have come right back into the big guy's pocket, you know? Oh man, so much truth coming to light. That's why it's so important, Spencer, that we
Yeah, I
set our
know.
mind on things above, that we're informed. The Bible says, don't be ignorant of the enemy's schemes, right? And you know his schemes, and you know the father of lies, who was a murderer from the beginning, to kill, steal, and destroy. Have nothing to do with those who associate with that. Separate yourself. And that's why I'm just grateful that we have the freedom of speech we have. I saw it claimed that the fact checkers are gone. Well, I don't know that they're gone, but it's interesting what's happening. People that are realizing, you know what, you better get in line or get out of the way, or you're going to be in trouble. And so the American people, though, I've never seen ever an election with black, white, Latino, Chinese, Asian, Muslim, Christian, and Jew voting for the same guy.
Yeah.
So much is being exposed. And again, but so many great things are happening in our country. And I'm excited to be alive during this time. We've got to seize these days, Spencer, and we have to get the word out, speak the truth, encourage people to live according to their rights. The Black Robe Regiment, those outlaw preachers, they didn't fight and write for a reason. And we can talk for days about that. But one of the other ways that we're getting the word out, and you're getting the word out, is with your morning show. Tell us about your morning show and how people can watch from anywhere.
It's pretty easy. It's your morning drive on News Talk KCRS. It's an AM radio station, but we also broadcast on FM. We have an app for that too, which is nationwide, and it's great. We get a lot of calls in from all over the country. It's found under the ICA radio app, and you can download it, pick out KCRS, and you can listen live anytime. As a matter of fact, you can push one button and join the show, and we'd love to have you do that.
ICA radio app. I am downloading it right now. And of course, you also have a Facebook page too. Are you still streaming live to your Facebook page?
Actually, we are not.
Okay.
The problem is our streaming service
Okay.
seems to have internet issues,
Oh,
but
interesting.
we will hope to have that. We do post things to Facebook, and it's News Talk KCRS. Do a search on Facebook. You can find us. We're always posting videos there, people that we talk with, great interviews and the like. And we'd love to interact with our listeners. And if you're interested in dropping a comment, nay or yay, we're always glad to hear it.
And you'll talk to anybody. And of course, Spencer,
Yeah.
a longtime voice in West Texas, the voice in the desert is what I call him. And you just continue to do great things in broadcasting. I'll look forward to seeing you on set too, GLC as well. Folks, another deep dive with Spencer Bennett and yours truly. Get behind true positive media. I'm just grateful for you, Spencer, and I'm grateful to live in a free country with freedom while we still have it.
Yeah. And we've got a short time to do some great things. Get saved and start doing your part.
I love it. Well, we'll see you next time. Deep dive with Spencer and Brant.